Dear DMers, my name is Andrea Pisauro. I am an Italian researcher. I lived up and down the UK for the past 9 years. I am a Labour and DiEM25 member, and since last May I was elected in the National Collective of DiEM25 UK. Let me start by saying how happy I am that we built a structure that allows all DiEM members to express an informed vote on such delicate issue. I'm really grateful to all those that made this possible, starting obviously from Yanis. Take a Break from Brexit is a campaign to postpone the Brexit by means of a parliamentary petition urging the UK Parliament to request an extension of Article 50. It was designed as a way out of the take it or leave it choice between a terrible deal and a catastrophic no deal that the British government of Theresa May want to impose to the British people and to 3 million non-British EU citizens in the UK. It was thought of and discussed by almost 20 DiEM members within a thematic DSC called Take Back Control of Your EU Rights. We are EU citizens such myself and UK citizens living both in the UK and in the rest of the EU. We discuss everything collectively and democratically. I'm speaking on behalf of all of them. Most of us are Corbyn sympathizers, and we thought of this campaign as a way out to help Labour not to be forced to choose between supporting the government bad deal or risking a catastrophic no deal. We discussed every aspect of this campaign with many Labour friends. Both option 1 and option 2 agree that a general election should happen as soon as possible to get rid of this terrible Tory government. We all agree that a second referendum is a very bad idea for all the reasons we discussed together. We say very clearly what we want, and there is no difference between us and Yanis on this, as you can read in the text. Option 1, our version of the appeal, is the product of a collective discussion lasted several weeks. Option 1 differs from the alternative option 2 in two respects. Our version clarifies that we wish this year of extension to be used to have a true democratic debate, something we did not have in Britain during the last 2 years. A more inclusive discussion on the main issues of the negotiations with more facts and much clearer options, bringing together leavers, remainers and the many people who were not included in the referendum vote. Young people, UK citizens in the EU and EU citizens in the UK as myself. Option 2 doesn't mention any of this and leaves the question of participation unanswered. Our version also clarifies that a 1-year extension implies that the UK participate in the EU election, and we explain why this is, in our opinion, an incredibly good thing. Option 2 instead omits to say that the EU election would be bound to happen. There is also a minor difference of style. Option 2 starts with the word DiEM25. Ours starts instead with the name of the campaign, because we think it's important to stress a collaborative effort that included also non-DiEM members. First of all, we don't think it's wise to put so much emphasis on the general election. If the Parliament votes in favour of the extension, it will also be thanks to Tories MPs breaking ranks. Too much emphasis on the call for a general election would make them vote in favour of the extension less likely. And without the extension, the government of Theresa May will manage to deliver a hard Tory Brexit, with their inhumane policies affecting all of us up here for many years to come. Equally important is to mention the kind of debate we would like to see instead. A general election wouldn't allow the voices of 4 million of EU citizens in the UK and UK citizens in the EU to be heard in this debate. We think DiEM25 should call loudly and clearly to make everyone's voice heard. There are ways to do that. We would like to campaign for inclusive citizens' assemblies discussing democratically what to make of Brexit in each and every city of the UK. But most importantly, we think that not mentioning the EU elections in this appeal would be a missed opportunity and an incredible political mistake. First of all, as the EU elections are bound to happen in case of a 1-year extension, as the UK will still be part of the EU in May 2019, we should say so. After all, DiEM25 is actively campaigning for the European elections. Not to mention them would fly in the face of what most of you is working for. We would be transparent. An extension implies EU elections, and we shouldn't hide this fact. Transparency is our principle, and we should be true to it. We are aware that many in Brussels wouldn't like to see EU elections happening in Britain. This is also why they are probably not so keen on the extension. But I have a question for you. Since when we started to do as we are told by Brussels? If the EU Commission doesn't want to see EU elections in Britain, this is not a good enough reason for DiEM25 not to talk about it. In fact, we would like to say to those people on both sides of the Brexit debate who want less democracy and less pluralism in our societies that we want more democracy, more participation at every level. The reason why it is important that the UK participate in next year's European elections is simple. The UK will be able to elect MEPs with a clear Brexit mandate, allowing the British people to freely decide what to make of Brexit, without the pressure of electing a government and the toxic binary choice of a referendum, and with a much better constituency. UK citizens in the EU and EU citizens in the UK, such myself, can vote at the EU election, whilst they cannot in a general election. But there is an even more important reason. Not only the UKIP is bankrupt and in disarray, but there are signals in the country that indicate a landslide of Labour MEPs is very likely. Imagine for a second the Labour of Jeremy Corbyn leading an internationalist front at the European elections, alongside our European Spring. He could prevent the risk of a commission dominated by the rising tide of neo-fascists, and they could inspire progressive forces throughout the continent to bring about the change we desperately need. Without Labour, we have little to hope for. But allowing UK citizens to participate in this historical European election can change the history of Europe. Dear member, the best movements are the ones who are not afraid to contradict their leaders. The best leaders are the ones that welcome constructive disagreement from their members. The Labour leader Tony Benn used to say, "The best leaders are those you don't remember, because we did it ourselves." We have the luck to have a leader whom we will remember anyway, but we are DiEM25 members. We are the leaders of our democratic revolution. This is why I ask you to support option 1, the grassroots version of this appeal. Please vote for option 1 and let's start our European Spring by taking a break from Brexit.